In terms of the station here, I've got 3 stacks of 10, 15, and 20, 4-element 40 beam, an 80 full-size 80-meter 4 square, and inverted L on 160. I don't really get to operate my own station so much anymore, as we've got it as part of the network for our B-Loud system. And so, I've got guys in California and out on the East Coast that like renting this station. And so I try to leave it open as much as possible for them to get in. I never ever thought about doing this remote thing until we started seeing that, well, to be honest with you, the reason why we started building these other stations, starting with the main station, is because it was just so difficult to compete against the guys on the East Coast. I really had never operated from the East Coast before, and I didn't know. I'd always heard Rick in Q4I talk about the advantage that they had. I didn't really understand what that advantage was until we built the station in Maine, and then we experienced the pileups from Maine that were at times similar to what I've experienced from, being DX out of the country. So it became readily apparent that this was going to be a game changer for us. So and then I had no clue that our competitor today was out there, didn't even know anything about other than guys just remoting their own stations. Wasn't really keenly aware of the whole remote concept. And so I thought, well, why don't we just go ahead and build the station, get an LLC, make it all legal, and we'll be able to write off our investment building the station. So that's what we did. And so we built this station up in Maine. We've got 2 towers up there. And I'll get into all that in a minute, but so that started us down the path of remote operation. And so now, I spend a little bit of time operating this station here. It just depends on what contest I want to run. I don't consciously chase DX anymore. If it comes within a contest, I'll chase it, not chase it, but if it comes within a contest, it just happens. If there's something extremely rare on, I might chase it just to work a single band. And I'm not really into so much working something like that on all bands anymore, like I did when I was young. But anyway, I'll operate from here, from Maine, from PJ4, from Louisiana, Arizona. We've got stations all over now, and we have some more in the pipeline that we're going to be putting on. But enough of that. Let me share this screen with you. And I guess there's another button I need to push. There it is.
There it is.
Okay, great. So a couple of years ago, Steve and I, W9SN, I've known Steve since, he was a teenager. And I used to run around with his father, KG90. And so, that's when he and I got this notion that we were going to build this station up in Maine. We looked all over the state, particularly the extreme Northeast, for property. And we ended up settling on 26.5 acres of property, 9/10 of a mile from the Canadian border. We're in Aroostook County, which is Fox Nancy 67, the grid. And so, you can stand on our property and just watch the traffic on the Canadian side. Let's see, what else I want to tell you about that? Other than we found that it was a huge advantage into Europe from that location for us, as compared to being in Georgia. And about, on average for us, about 67% of all of our cues at a contest come from Europe. So that helped us immensely work in Europe. It's a little more difficult to work JAs from up there, but it just depends on the mode. So it's a little more difficult on phone. It's not so bad on CW, on RTTY, the digital modes. It's not bad from up there, but it's actually easier to work JA from here. But of course, in the contest, you're relegated to the one station that you're entering from. So to operate remote, this is the way the inside of my station used to look, with all the bandpass filters and triplexers and the remote switch, rotor control cables, all those things that you need, to operate a station. That stuff is no longer around anymore. So all I need now is a computer and a access to the web, and we're on the air. So this is a screenshot of our first generation web client. We're using all ICOM radios now, and we just installed the last one down at PJ4, and it's up and running and fully functional. We were running all OM power 2008 plus amplifiers. We switched over to KPA 1500s. Actually, let me back up. When we first started, we had KPA 1500s at the main station, and we had OMs elsewhere. We now are all strictly KPA 1500s. So, and biggest reason for that is because the software development led us down that path, because we started using a protocol called Node-RED, and there was some software development that was already started in Node-RED for the Elecraft amplifiers. So it was cost effective for us to use Node-RED to do that, because the development was already there. This is what Node-RED looks like in our system. And so with this page of our web client, you can see this is, it's changed again since this screenshot was taken, but this is our main Tower 1A station with the KPA 1500. So you've got the amplifier on this side. In the middle, you've got the rotor controls, the presets, and then on the right-hand side, you have the selection of the antennas. Excuse me. So this actually comes up in a different tab now. So this presentation is not entirely up to date when it comes to what the appearance of the radio looks like right now. But we've got plans to revamp what the physical front of the radio looks like, but it's functional the way it is. And so as long as it's functional, we'll move forward with it that way. And then we'll work on the cosmetics later. So how do you connect a radio to a radio amplifier and antenna? Your internet becomes your coax for you. And so, as long as you've got a decent internet connection, you're going to be able to connect to our remote system. So this is something that I think was on a Flex post once upon a time. Says the amount of the network loading depends a bit on how much you have configured on the type SDR that you're using. And so we recommend, that you have at least 5 megabytes per second of upload speed. We used to use the Flex radios when we first started. Flex radio is a great radio. We don't have any problem with that, but for our purposes, the ICOM worked better for us. We had some issues with when we were contesting with CAT and DAX dropping out, and when that dropped out and we weren't the ones contesting and we had renters, why then we had to make ourselves available 24/7 as well to help jump in there and fix that problem with a reboot or a reset of some nature. And so it was getting burdensome to do that. And we feel that the ICOMs that we're using now takes less bandwidth to operate with our system. So that's the principal reason. But again, Flex is a great radio. The pan adapter's great. Enjoyed using it for several years. We are working on our pan adapter right now, but it is not complete at this moment. So you've got all the connections at the remote site that you would have here at home, ordinarily in your own shack. The only difference is, you just connect to it through the internet to access it all. We looked at some 25 properties throughout northern Maine, and as I said, we settled on that 26.5 acres up there in the extreme northeast. We had a realtor there in Maine that generated daily computerized feeds to us via email of properties matching the criteria that we had given him. And property and taxes both are extremely cheap in Maine. Believe it or not, we picked up 26.5 acres for 15 grand. Our taxes on the property up there only run, a little less than $300 a year. So it's very, very economical to be there. Except when you have something go wrong and you have to hop on a plane at the last minute and fly up there to take care of a problem. We do have someone locally up there that helps us out with some. He's not a ham, he's not a technical guy. And so if it means just overnighting something to him and having him swap out something that looks the same in the building, why he can handle that for us. So we had Ken Gard, W3JK, build our antennas for us with a taper schedule to resist the effects of the icing up there. We've been really fortunate so far, and we haven't had any ice damage. We bought 2 brand new sea containers and put them in there for our building, one at the base of each tower. And then we cut a vent hole in the top so that we could vent the containers in the summertime with a fan. We have security cameras everywhere on the property up there, and we have a ham who happens to be the chief of police there, and a border patrol agent who's a ham who keeps tabs on things for us on the property. So it's fairly well protected, and it's a nice community. The crime rate's really low up there. So we're using microtik routers for Maine. So contesting from northern Maine, it's just been we were going to put up a large tower, and we were going to put OWA monobanders on it, and a couple of people talked us out of that, one of them being W3JK. And he said, trust me, he said, living on the East Coast, I can tell you that you really won't need those monobanders up here as much as you think you might, because that's what you needed back in the Southeast or when you lived in the Midwest. So he said, well, I'll build these big tri-banders for you, and they'll work just fine for you. And they have. I'm not saying that an OWA wouldn't work a little bit better, but for our purposes, they work quite well. We do still plan to contest, but our main focus now is not contesting as much as it is the station rental. And that's not a pitch or anything. That's just a fact. So, we always thought from these parts or this part of the country, we always think higher and bigger, but that's not necessarily the case from the Northeast. We just assumed that the big tower was necessary up there, and we bought a Roan 65 tower that we ended up splitting up and making two towers out of. I think we purchased what was it? 280 feet. Yeah, so we've got two different towers out of that right now, and on the tower 2A we have an 80-meter wire delta beam that we built that works real well for us. That's switchable northeast southwest. But this spring we went up and we installed a full-size 80-meter four-square as well. So we're going to put another tower up there, and that's going to be about 190 feet. I actually went over to Rick's and used 55G from him, and we're going to take it up and put it up for the express purpose of putting up stacks on 6 meters. 6-meter FT8 has just been phenomenal this year. We've had that main station has just been rented out almost constantly while 6 meters is open, and it's almost always on FT8. People are just really enamored with that. And it's just so easy to knock off new ones on 6 meters. Excuse me. So anyway, that's the plans for next season. So on Tower 1 in Maine, this is the rundown of the antennas that we have. What we decided to do on this tower was put up a rotor. We've got the large Pro-Sistel rotors up with 3-inch chromoly masts and thrust bearings on them. And so we've got some fixed tri-banders, and we turn the top tri-bander and marry it up with the fixed tri-banders to form the stacks. The Caribbean tri-bander is fixed at 50 feet. There's a work band antenna on there for 12, 17, and 30 meters. On Tower 2, we've got a half square for 160 that's strung between Tower 1 and Tower 2, which are 500 feet apart. And then we put up an inverted L cut for sideband. And then we put up this half square for CW. Now that tower that we're putting up next spring, that tower will also support 160 meter four square off of that. So that'll complete the complement of antennas for that particular station up there. So we've got the 7-element 6-meter beam up at 148 feet on a 30-foot boom on Tower 2. So we purchased our bandpass filters and triplexers from VA6AM, and our stack matches, interfaces, and switches from EA4TX Pablo in Spain. But we had problems with his remote antenna switches. Every one of them failed on us, whether they were in Maine or in Louisiana or wherever we had them, they failed. So we're now using the 403As and the Green Heron wireless system up in Maine. We've got a couple of those switches. I call them the Brazilian switches, whatever the trade name is, but they're very hardy and they work very well for us. So we've kind of moved that way. So did I tell you that our property is remote? The folks in Maine, they talk a little funny, but they've been very kind to us. Getting around in Maine in the wintertime can be a little bit of a challenge, and there's only about 5.5 months up there that they don't get snow, and their average snow accumulation in Northeast Maine is about 87 inches. We had a unique thing happen last year where a moose, we had one of the support ropes, paracord, came loose and dropped one corner of the 80-meter delta beam, and the wire drooped down, and a moose came through the property and got that wire around his neck, and he ran around our sea container several times until he choked out on the wire. And we knew we had a problem with the antenna, so we flew up there, and when we got there, all we found was some bones from the skull and the antlers, and the rest of the meat had been soon taken off by the black bear, which we have on the property as well. So my wife and I, that's my wife behind that sign right there, accusing me of running a sweatshop. She went up there with me and helped me assemble the antennas before Steve W9SN got up there. By the way, her name is Joe, and she's a ham as well. It's N9FTX. So we spent a month up there when we constructed the station. She and I spent 2 weeks building the antennas, and then Steve came up and our tower guy came over, and we're fortunate we do have a tower climber within 15 minutes of the station, and we hired a crane to come in and put everything up. So that's part of the JK elements there that we're building. We spent a month there even after we pre-built a lot of elements here in my garage before we went up there. So operating remotely in Maine, you gain geographic and propagational benefits into Europe. You gain the ability to recruit more operators, being able to operate remotely. Virtually anybody from anywhere, can log in and operate the station. The available operator talent pool increases by, being able to have people log in from all over. You lose a little bit of the face-to-face camaraderie that we had, when we were all, staying for the weekend here at the house. But, with phone and CW, it's not so good. But for the digital contest, we can use we can use the talk feature of N1MM. We can use Skype, some other things. So it came in real handy this past year too with COVID, being able to remote people in to operate. And other than that, it's basically the same. The functionality is basically the same. You just access it differently. So the additional benefits of remote contesting, you can operate from anywhere. I use the example of the apartment and the HOAs. We're able to remote stations from PJ4, and we've got WP3C station in our network now down at Puerto Rico. You basically open and close the bands from up there at the main station. We're running 20 meters, 5:36 a.m. in the morning, sometimes earlier than that. We're working 40 meters. I've worked 40 meters as early as 11:30 a.m., 12 noon, routinely no later than 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that gives us a little bit of an advantage to get an opening for that much longer. So we're operating, the antennas that I previously described from that location, and that certainly helps out. Pardon me for that. Anyway, for me, I've still got this other station out here in the backyard, but for some people, it keeps the wife happy, not having a tower in the backyard, and, you can just log in and operate remotely. So we've operated remotely with team members from as many as 4 different states at the same time without any degradation in the communication. And when I say communication, I'm talking about the network itself. We're using Hamachi to do the networking. We're all using N1MM. You got an operator up in Wisconsin. That guy's queue goes in the log just as quick as Dennis K4NB over at Stockbridge. So you just really don't see any difference at all. There's no networking problems. It's been solid as a rock. So the station operator on the other end, he shouldn't be able to detect that you're working from a remote station. If he does, then you've got a latency issue. You've got some weakness in the system at some point. So the contest score ought to be the same as if you were on site. It's just all about operator ability and propagation. As long as everything's performing, with the station, then there shouldn't be any differences, any noticeable differences. So you might think that compressing and transferring the audio to the remote location would lead to poor quality and poor decoding. But as a billion streaming music listeners can attest, the streaming audio sounds fine. And we get good reports on our phone audio all the time. I mentioned this here a little bit ago. This is a quote from Jeff, W4DD, said, "I lived in Virginia for 15 years near Williamsburg, and moving to Georgia was like moving into a metal can." He said, even within Q4i antennas. Europe is strong into Virginia. I know operators in Virginia that can attest to that, and their scores reflect that. He says Rick and he figured that they were 6 dB stronger than here, and so I believe that. So the internet connections are coax and don't skimp. So one of the things that I did here, I had a local provider. I built this house 20 years ago, and I had been with the local provider forever. And I just changed providers, maxed out on the internet, and I've been very happy with the performance. There's our 2019 contest results, all via remote. And so, we don't win every one of them, but we get one once in a while. There's last year's results. Again, we get one every once in a while. A lot of digital stuff in there. So we got a sweepstakes phone win last year as well in low power category, and we had several other top 10 finishes. But those are basically limited only by our own performance as operators. The 2021 contest results to date, we had a first an ARRL phone and multi-single. And I really had a lot of fun, even though it's digital. And I know most of the SECC guys or CW guys, but this new distributed category was so much fun, operating from multiple states and being able to operate with different antenna systems. It was just a whole lot of enjoyment for everyone. That's what our property looks like. This is all Canada over here. This is Tower 2. And here are our JK antennas up here. Tower 1 is back over here 500 feet away with an identical 65G tower. It's a little bit shorter than this one, and an identical C container. that's what it looks like on the tundra in the wintertime there. So at the moment, we have stations available at all of these locations. Presently remotable. We just went down last week and did a repair of the 3-element 40 on W5WMU station from hurricane damage. We had to take down a 20-meter OWA monobander, and we've got another one that's got to go back up. That'll be done here in the next 2 weeks, and then that station will be back on the air. So if we got time, it's just a couple of minutes. I can play this video, but it'll give you a drone view of the property and the towers. If not, I can skip it.
Oh, go ahead.
So that's the extent of what we look like today. And Steve's our technical guy. I'm the business guy. So don't be too hard on me on technical questions. I'll do the best I can. I can open it up for you if you like.
I got a question from John, ADHA.
Hey, John.
Actually, I have two questions. The first thing is, up there in Maine, do you just have one internet connection going in, or do you have multiple internet connections?
We have two. That's a good question. I wish we only had one. We cut our internet bill in half. And it's not cheap as similar to what it is here. We have Spectrum service there. We have an independent connection going in to Tower 1 and another independent going into Tower 2. It cost us between the two about $300 a month for internet service.
Yeah, that gets a little steep. The other question I had is, and I asked this because I operate remote, what do you do about lightning protection? And do you have anything that automatically shuts down if you have a storm in the area?
We don't have anything that automatically shuts down for storms, but we do use polyphasers.
Have you ever taken a lightning hit up there that destroyed anything?
No, knock on wood, in Maine, no, but our W9SN station on a mountaintop up in Allert, Tennessee, was completely destroyed this spring by lightning. It took out everything on the tower, blew two antennas completely off the tower, and all the coax, all the antenna switches, amplifier, couple of rigs. One rig was brand new, never been used, was put in the rack, and we rack mount everything, but all of it burned up.
Well, I guess I have a follow-up question on that. Did you have any kind of insurance that you could cash in on?
Well, yeah, fortunately we do. We have had the station up there insured. This one's insured. The main station is insured, and the W5WMU stations are insured.
Okay, thanks for the answers.
Thank you.
Hey, Fred, Jeff.
Sure. Hey,
Okay.
Jeff.
Can you mention your webpage and the different plans that you have for people if they want to operate these stations remotely. I have your page up right now. I see that you have a 30-day promotional offer right now for as low as 4 cents a minute.
We do.
Yeah, and it looks like you got a couple offers for if anyone wants to operate the PJ4G station or the KP4 station for WAE CW this coming weekend. But maybe if you could bring up the can you bring up the web page on the screen?
Yeah,
and go through the different plans.
Yeah, let me do that. See if it comes up for you. Are you guys seeing my page here now?
We're still on your presentation.
Are you?
Yeah.
It has questions.
Let me get rid of that. You see that now, the web page?
No, it's still hung up on questions.
All curvy.
Okay, let me do this. Let me get rid of the PowerPoint,
Yeah.
and then let me share. I think this is the one.
Here you go.
Okay, great. So yeah, so we've got the Puerto Rico station and the PJ4 Gulf station. So this weekend, we put those up for rent at 25% off the normal rate. So I didn't really come on here to sell our services, but if you go to if you're interested in looking at it, you can go to www.beloud.us, and you can see that we have 3 different levels of subscription membership, and then we're running a for any new person that comes on board. This is not just for 30 days, but continually running. We run a 30-day promotional where you don't have to pay an annual membership fee for the first 30 days, and you get 40% off of the normal rates, the per minute rates, to try out the stations. And if you like them, you can let your membership kick in. If you don't, you can let us know, and we'll take you out of the system, and you won't be charged. So it's pretty simple.
Any thoughts to expanding into perhaps smaller stations in rare locations like, say, North Dakota, Wyoming, etc.?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, we just put on an Arizona station that's in the silver level, but he does have directional antennas and a tower and an amplifier. He's running we just installed a KPA 500 this past week. We just put on a silver station in Florida, and we put on one. When I say silver, that's our lowest price. And those, once the 30 days is over, those are still only like 7 and 9 cents a minute to operate. So for guys that, that are cooped up in a condo or something, that may be ample for them. We've got N5AN station is in that network as a silver down in Louisiana, and he's got 2 tri-banders that are fixed northeast, northwest, and it's a 100-watt station, but it plays real well from coast to coast, and I think it's like 9 cents a minute, something like that, to operate. Anyway, we are looking for other lower price stations to put in the network. Anyone that's got a station that's interested in, making a little money with it, why, I'll be happy to talk to you at your convenience. Or if you know someone out west that's got one, or in the Midwest, again, I'd be happy to speak with them about it.